Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Throws Show. Whoa. Talk to him, Sam.
Talk to him.
And today we'll be going over the results of the men's hammer final at this year's Paris Olympic Games. This was a huge coming out party for one Ethan Katzberg. The Canadian captured his first Olympic gold. This man threw 84 meters on his first attempt. Threw 84 meters on his first attempt. And Sam, he is only 22 years of age.
Yeah, 22.
I think we're looking at someone who could potentially be challenging the world record.
Oh, without a doubt.
And I don't think we've been able to say that about a hammer thrower since the world record was broken back in the 80s.
Yeah.
But the silver medals was Ben Salaz out of Hungary, and bronze medals was Mikhailo Kokon out of Ukraine. And, one thing I want to highlight with these results is that this is probably one of the deepest hammer competitions in the history of any major championship. I have this pulled up right now. So these are the results going down to 8th place. We have 77 meters just to get all 6 throws in the final.
Mm-hmm.
And if you go back to Rio in 2016, just comparing some results, 8th place was 74 meters, 74.61.
Mm-hmm.
And gold at that competition was 78.
Yeah, you can see that the evolution is getting better.
And you fast forward to Tokyo. Now, granted, 80 meters, Kokon didn't medal, but he still threw 80 meters. So deeper comp at the top end, but still, when you look at the bottom, 76 to get all 6 throws.
Mm-hmm.
So we're seeing the depth of the men's hammer just continue to rise over the years. And now that we're seeing things like an 84-meter throw in a major, not just an 84-meter throw in general, like we saw Ethan PR earlier this year in Kenya, throwing, I think, like 20 centimeters further. We haven't seen an 84-meter throw essentially since Ivan Sikon, if you want to even count those marks, from Belarus in the mid-2000s. But really, if you're going to go with potentially clean athletes, we're going to go with probably Koji Murafushi throwing 84 meters back in like either 2004 or 2002. So we're almost 20 years removed from an 84-meter throw.
Yeah.
So, Sam, I'm going to take it to you. Like, what were your thoughts watching this competition as it was happening and basically as you reflect on the results after it's been 2 days?
Yeah, so I think we all agreed that, like, Ethan was, the favorite. I got a buddy, shout out Brendan Amo. He's been on he's been telling me about Ethan for a while. So, like, based off of what he's been telling me, I was like, all right, I am on the Ethan, bandwagon. I'm on the Ethan train. But I mean, like, his results have been, they prove for why we pick him. Like, He went 84-12 on his first attempt. He won this competition on his first attempt. In the interview, he was like, I wasn't really expecting to win, but, like, indicative of the shape, like, he knew he was going to do something. So it's just like, it's not a surprise, but, like, it is a surprise because, like you said, he's only 22 years old. Like, he's really young, and he's accomplishing these things at, like, a very fast pace.
Yeah, and I think what's cool about Ethan is just by, like, 6 degrees of separation, right? Ethan Katzberg's trained by Dylan Armstrong. He was bronze medalist in Tokyo for the men's shot put for Canada, and he was trained by Dr. Anatoly Bondarchuk. So for those of you who don't know, Dr. Bondarchuk was the head throws coach for the Soviet Union back in the 80s and early 90s until the Soviet Union collapsed. He was also an Olympic champion for the Soviet Union in 76. 72. And he was kind of like the main arbiter of, like, the renaissance of the hammer throw and, showing people how you should train more specifically for the throws and also, like, how you can improve hammer marks. He coached the world record holder Yuri Sadiq to 86 meters, but he was always, very open about, steroid use and stuff like that and what the results are actually achieved naturally. But Dr. B, moved to Canada in the mid-2000s and started a training group in Kamloops, British Columbia, which was built around Dylan Armstrong preparing for the Beijing Olympics in 2008. Dane Miller, the normal host for this show and owner of Garage Strength Throws University, that is where he went to go learn the system of training that would eventually become Garage Strength system of training. So I'm saying all this to say that like this is like the 20-year culmination, I feel like, of Dr. B moving to Canada, forming the training group. He coached multiple Canadian national champions and world and Olympians in the hammer throw and shot put. And I almost feel like Ethan Katzberg is like the residual benefit of like the culture of hammer throwing building up in Canada since Dr. B moved out there. So it's like cool to see, but also this is kind of proof of like when you invest early on in the long-term development of athletics, you get an athlete like Ethan. And they're able to combine older styles of training to newer styles of training. And like, I have no doubt in my mind personally that, Ethan's clean and he's hitting marks that we'd only see from, let's be real, like, enhanced athletes. So seeing something like this is just special. And I think what was funny about this competition, bro, once that mark came up, they went 84. He knew he had it on lock. Dylan Armstrong knew he had it on lock. And you just see all these series of fouls because he was just cranking on it, bro.
He was just trying to go.
He's like, I'm going to try to get that Olympic record. And it's just incredible to see, like, the ability in someone so young. Like, where can he be when he's 30, bro? So you got to think, when he's 30, that's going to be the 2032 Olympics. And most people are not hitting their peak in hammer until 30.
Yeah.
But I want to give credit to Ben Halaz here, from Hungary, getting the silver medal. Actually, he did this on his birthday, so I think he turned 27.
Happy birthday.
Yeah, happy birthday, Ben. So that's a phenomenal birthday gift. And then we got Kokon. Really good performance from him to get the bronze medal. One thing I kind of want to highlight here before we get into another topic I want to discuss is I actually want to go into the press conference of this competition because I have some serious thoughts that we need to address in the throwing and track and field community if we're going to continue to try to promote the sport. But going over, we've been talking about how we have our picks of what we thought was going to happen in the predictions episode. I think now we'll go over our picks right now. So my picks, I think, are actually the same exact as Sam's. So we're going to walk away scoring the same amount of points. Sam, who would you have to pick? And then I'll feed off of why we've had those picks.
All right, so we had Ethan, number 1, which was a given. We had Nowitzki as the silver, and then we had our boy Danny Haw as the third for bronze.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Danny did not make it out of qualifying. He fouled out in the qualification round. So we were then putting we're Americans, so we were hoping to have some American, do something in the final. Luckily, Rudy Winkler qualified. He's the American record holder. Having his best finish at the Olympic Games, getting 6th place, throwing 77.92 on his first round. Just seemed like Rudy was missing it and just couldn't chase any longer distances, but still a really good attempt by Rudy.
Absolutely.
And, unfortunately, Nowitzki did not have the meet that he was probably expecting. He's the reigning world Olympic champion. From Poland, throwing 82 meters in the previous year, like we already saw. And, through 77 meters, 42, got 7th place. And, he probably would have wanted more, but still a really good mark to, really continue his career. He's getting a little older, so I'm not sure how much more he wants to keep throwing. I could see him still going to LA. But I think even, Fajdek was even showing that he could have done something in the medal position, but unfortunately just couldn't find it on the day. Sorry.
Not like looking at the the results, like it was a very competitive competition. Like
very much
they're
so.
all within like a few centimeters within each other. So like obviously like the gold was locked down. Like no one was challenging that. But like from 2nd all the way down to 7th, like it's a game of centimeters. And like obviously like we thought certain people would do a little bit better, but like when you look at it like holistically, like this was a very, very strong competition.
Yeah, and I mean, look at 2nd through 8th is 2.5 meter difference. That's crazy in the sport of hammer throwing in long throws. So one thing I want to bring up is this press conference. You can look this up on Sidious Mag's YouTube channel. They've been doing a good job posting all the press conferences from every final at the athletics portion of the Olympics. But one thing I just kind of want to highlight here, this is really disappointing to me as someone who wants to be an advocate for the sport of throwing. I had the privilege to be able to interview people at the Olympic trials this past year. When they asked people for any questions for these guys after they just competed in the freaking Olympics where Ethan Katzberg had one of the farthest throws of all time, it was crickets. There was no one in the presser that wanted to ask him a single question. So what do? They have 10 minutes for this presser. Kokon just starts interviewing.
Ethan Katzberg will now open the floor for questions. If you have a question, please raise your hand and we'll bring a mic over to you.
How do you feel, Ethan?
Thank you for the question.
So Kokon takes it upon himself to be the bro that he is and starts asking the other medalists questions because no one else is going to talk to them. And we wait 4 minutes. The MC of the event decides to ask him a question about the competition itself. So then we finally get to one question from the audience, and this is the question they decide to ask.
Question to Kohan. The high jumper of the Ukrainian got the gold and the bronze, and did you pay any attention, like the achievement, like were you able to see? Also, when they were taking the winning run, they stopped it and cheered their last the throw, like last attempt. Did you know what was going on around?
Yeah, of course. Thanks for the.
Okay, so with all respect to the Ukrainian high jumper who won Olympic gold, she broke the world record earlier this year. This, to me, is a travesty of sport and media where you have three of the best athletes in the entire world competing in the most important competition of their lives. They just achieved their dreams of making the Olympic podium. Instead of asking about their own performance, you're asking about another athlete in the different competition that's occurring at the same time on the opposite end of the stadium. Of course, Kokon was not watching. Like, maybe he saw out of the corner of his eyes on the video screen her performance, but he was not focused on her performance. He was focused on his performance. He's trying to win the Olympics. He's trying to make the podium, after failing to do so in Tokyo, where he finished 4th. And you're asking him if he cared more about his teammate than his own competition. Sam, this kind of gets me just a little on edge. Like, what's your take on this?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like you said, like they were just being bros and, they took things into their own hands, but like it's tough to, ball out and then sit there and no one really has anything to say. Like,
it's like no one cares.
It's tough. I don't want to say that nobody cares, but it's like you should be prepared to have at least something, like Ethan won by, a few meters, and it's like you can just ask him, like, how did that feel to know, like, you won by such a large margin, or how did it feel to know, like, you were way ahead after the first round? It could have been as simple as that, and I'm just a little curious to why, like, no one asked, the simple, like, the easy questions to kind of just get the conversation started. Like you said, it was crickets for that first, initial part of it, and then obviously, like, they took over. So, obviously it's like those guys could be better. It's just like, just have like a simple question,
Yeah, I think I just put it on. I don't know if it's on the Olympic committee, whoever made the decision of who had media passes for individual finals, but to me, as someone who understands that throwing is sort of like looked down upon, or maybe just not noticed and not nearly as heavily featured as other events in track and field, seeing this at the biggest stage in the world, every 4 years, it kind of disheartens me, because it's like, this is the perfect time for these athletes to promote themselves, to tell their stories, because most people watching the Olympics might not know their stories going in. And then the press conference is where you get to learn more about them. And then it's this vital moment right here. Like, you have to think, there aren't too many videos where we get to see throwers talking. This video gets 20,000 views because it's on Sidious Mag's YouTube channel. That's now potential fans that could be of these athletes if they got to know them better. But when the interviewers are not there to actually give them the questions for them to tell their stories, it makes it hard to be invested emotionally in the athletes. And now you're preventing potential fans that we could create for these individual athletes. And I think that's where it gets a little disheartening. And more so, I just want to, voice it because we need to do better as a sport if we're going to grow it. We have to do it ourselves. And, I just hope that in future majors, like in the next Olympic Games in LA, we'll have people there that will be educated on the events. Like we were talking about the history of Ethan Katzberg, Dr. Bondarchuk, it's Ben Salah's birthday. He's been fighting to do something major, and, Kokon, like, him just naturally being Ukrainian and having to deal with the Ukrainian war. Like, there are stories that we can tell from each of these athletes that could, get them to have fans of the sport and, potentially grow the event. This is one of the coolest events to watch. Ethan Katzberg could be a future GOAT in the next 10 years, and I can't wait to see how he does and continues his career. Guys, if you want to improve your ability as a thrower, you want to learn how to get better, you can check out our books, online resources, get a Throws University program, get a strength program to improve your skills as a thrower. If you want to become a better thrower, you're already in the right place at Throws University, throwsuniversity.com to get those today. We'll see you on the next one. Peace.
Peace.